Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news, your legends on the United Stands, live every morning at 10 o'clock. Lots to get into, so excited. Big weekend of action for Manchester United on the download. I mean, this time tomorrow will only be a couple of hours away from the Manchester derby, which of course we're all excited about. I'm loving what Casemiro's been saying. I've just been reading an article about him where he watched Manchester United lose to Brentford in the second game of the Premier League season and texted his agent and said, get me there, I'll sort this out. And you know, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And I tweeted something earlier today, actually. Not like it's still early today anyway. But I tweeted something this morning about how, 90% of United fans wanted Ten Hag in March. We were leading that charge, weren't we? Every ex-player wanted Pochettino or Simeone. The press wanted Pochettino. And here we are, about to go into a season-defining game against Man City in a strong position where I think everybody can agree that Ten Hag has been the breath of fresh air that this football club needed. So, very, very positive about it. But let's get into the latest news. Lots to get into. Man United's new owners, who we don't know who they are yet, facing a huge bill. We'll talk to you about that. 4 first-team players going to be on the way out of Manchester United in the summer, according to the Telegraph. We'll talk about that. Also, Weghorst, yes, obviously, people... the Weghorst deal, we're going to be announcing the Weghorst deal at some point. So I didn't want to be that channel that starts just putting Weghorst on the title of every video because it's an easy way to bore people to death and try and get views. Weghorst official will happen and we'll react to that when it happens. But I'm not talking about Weghorst on a news show where there's so much more to talk about that's actually more important than a loan deal for a player that we know we're going to get. So we will react to Weghorst when it happens and we've got the quotes, but we're not really going to talk about Weghorst on the news show because Weghorst is going to be announced as a Man United player. I don't know when they're going to announce it in the sense of the deadline is midday. Fabrizio's saying that it's basically done anyway. So when Man United are going to announce it, I don't know. I mean, they could announce it at midday. They could announce it in the press conference with Eric Ten Hag, which I think is 1 o'clock when we'll be reacting to that. Just a couple of things for the press conference, by the way. We're expecting updates on 3 things, injuries-wise. Delo, that's going to be a big update. Is he available tomorrow? Donny, obviously, how extensive that is. And there is still these rumours going around about Martial. Now, we're hoping that it is just rested, but there is a rumour about that, so we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, the big things I want to talk about are obviously 4 out, for sale. Get what I mean? For sale. For sale. But I also want to talk about a story that Rob Dawson's mentioned about Fred, because it justifies what I've been saying and what some people have been saying for quite a while. Not Fred, Anthony. About what a bad deal that was from Manchester United's point of view. Not Anthony, I like Anthony, but the deal, basically Man United were offered Fred. Man United were offered Anthony in June for 53 million quid, and they said it was too much money. What did we pay in August? 85 million euros with add-ons. Yeah. But I knew that, I keep saying this and people just, I think a lot of you do get it because the videos we did were proved right. But June the 10th, we had it before anybody else. Man United want to sign Anthony. It was from Brazilian outlet. They were spot on. United were offered Anthony 60 million euros, 53 million quid. They said it was too much money and they were too focused on De Jong. 2 months later, they're playing 85 million. And, ultimately, Ajax charged us that money because in early June, they hadn't sold half their team. There we go. Anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about... First thing I want to talk about is the stadium cost. I don't know whether you saw it. It's from a journalist called Mike McGrath. I forget the outlet. I think he might be Telegraph as well. Telegraph or Daily Mail. Take a punt. I think it's Telegraph. So he's basically said that Manchester United have... and this for me is big. This is bigger than signing... I mean, I wouldn't say it's bigger than signing Mbappe, but it's bigger than signing... Certainly bigger than signing anyone we're going to sign in January, because we're not going to sign anyone in January. But it's big news. So, effectively, Man United are going to shelve any plans to renovate or rebuild Old Trafford. Now, before you take a sharp intake of breath, that's not the big news. That's logical news. Manchester United cannot move forward with a rebuild or a restructure of Old Trafford when they're about to sell the club. I get that. And really, they're shelving it for 3 or 4 months until we get the new owners in. So I've got no problem with the fact that the Glazers are not going forward with plans to rebuild Old Trafford. In fact, that would be for anyone who's going, oh, that's a joke, actually, it's a good news, because if the Glazers aren't moving forward, that means they're definitely going to sell. If they had any intention of staying or just getting investment in, they would move forward with the plans. So the plans to renovate or rebuild Old Trafford are on hold until the new owners come in. But the costs, sit down. In fact, this is what you need to do, right? I'm about to tell you the costs to rebuild or build a new Old Trafford. So we all sat down in our chairs. Okay, here we go. £1 billion to renovate. That means the current Old Trafford, stop the leaks, increase the capacity, modernise. £1 billion to do that. £2 billion to build a new stadium. That's a huge bill for a new owner. I mean, I've got to say, when I've been thinking about it, and I've got no idea what it costs to build a new stadium, and maybe Spurs fans do, and Arsenal and Everton and everyone else, I thought it would cost 400 million to renovate Old Trafford and take the capacity up to about 90,000. £1 billion to renovate Old Trafford. That would mean modernising it, increasing the capacity, making it, keeping the same ground, but just renovating it. Rebuilding a brand new one, 2 billion. So, I mean, look, it's not our problem. It is our problem, but it's not our problem. Spurs cost £1 billion to build it. Okay, there you go. So, and prices have gone up. I'll tell you that for free. The studio costs we incurred when we built the studio went up by about 40% during building it because of costs of material and all this sort of stuff, that's going on, whether it's COVID, the war. The costs have gone up. They go up anyway, don't they? But to build that Spurs ground now would probably cost about 1.4 billion, just on inflation and price and everything like that. So it's a lot. It's a lot of money, isn't it? And I think that's big news. You can do that whatever you want with that. I can't really expand on it. Suffice to say, I'm from a business point of view, I am absolutely intrigued to see what the Glazers can get for Manchester United. We spoke yesterday on the afternoon show about the challenges there to actually buy players in the summer because of restrictions and owed money to other clubs. £300 million owed in transfer fees to other clubs, which means we're still paying, probably still paying Everton for Lukaku, aren't we? I mean, 300 million, I can't even figure that out. Even with everybody in the summer, there's still another 100 million there. So massive amount of money owed in transfers, massive amount of debt, which hopefully will go anyway. But £1 billion minimum to do something that has to be done. It's not like you can go, oh, I'll be all right with that. It's not like, you pull up on your drive and, your window's got a crack and you go, I'll leave that for a bit. This is like not having a roof on. We've got to do something about it. So new owners are buying Man United for 5-6 billion quid, knowing they've got to spend over £1 billion just to get the stadium looking good. And then another probably billion to do infrastructure, signings, youth, women's, everything. A massive amount of money. Massive amount of work. Nick J says, talking about leaks, the dodgy leaks to the press from players have completely stopped this year. Amazing. Ten Hag has got hold of this so quick, says Nick J. It's discipline and respect. It wasn't there and now it is. Nick, give me a drill and some paint and I'll do it for a chip, Butty, says Dance. And Morning United Stand family, says Liam Devon Red. Hi Liam, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to take the opportunity to announce my wife and I will be welcoming our first little Red Devil into the world in July. What a great way to start the show. Fantastic news, Liam. Congratulations to you and your wife. And great news. And I don't know why, Liam, and I hope you'll take this in the way I was going to say. I was actually going to say, I presume it's yours, which I'm being honest. It was going to be a joke, and then I was like, that's a really bad joke. So I'm telling you, I was going to do a bad joke, just to put a smile on your face. But there you go. Congratulations to Liam and his wife. I've always thought that renovation costs of Old Trafford would be huge due to location and how badly it's been left. A rebuild might be better and quicker, says SK. You know what it's like? Talking about leaks, if you've got a bit of a leak on your roof, if you look up and go, oh, there's a bit of a stain on my roof, and you go, I'm going to leave that, it's going to cost you more the longer you leave it because the leak's still there. If you fix a leak, as soon as you notice it, it's not going to cost you a lot of money. If you leave it, the damage gets bigger and it costs a lot more. And and that's basically what's happened to Old Trafford: decay, rust. It's costing. If the Glazers had maintained it over the last 17 years, we'd be absolutely fine. But they didn't want to do it. Never mind transfers. Even construction companies are scamming the board, says Rohan. I don't think they're scamming. I think that I think it will cost a lot of money. I think it will cost a lot of money. So £1 billion to renovate and £2 billion to rebuild. I just want to run a poll actually just on that. What would you do? Just a snap poll. I love these sort of things. It's a democracy. Everyone's got an opinion. Would you renovate or rebuild? And we're not playing Minecraft. We're talking about Old Trafford. Mark, did you see Danny Murphy on TalkSport say Maguire's bad form is due to not playing with Casemiro in front of him? Says Alex. Yeah, Danny Murphy talks out his arse, really. I mean, look. Sometimes sometimes people do speak sense, and a clock's right twice a day. But I mean, just do your stats, Danny. It's got nothing to do with that. Maguire just doesn't suit the way we want to play. All this talk about Pellistri getting loaned out, complete joke. Pellistri needs to be put into the squad, and Elanga needs to go out on loan, says Phil Webb. It'll be interesting what we do in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, just to move the story on a little bit. I think the thumbnail says Ten Hag's transfer clear out. I'm reading the title here. For sale. So the Telegraph, I believe it's James Ducker again, but it's definitely the Telegraph. I've said that there are 4 players that Ten Hag will look to move out in the summer to generate funds. Now, the afternoon show yesterday is well worth a watch if you've not seen it. I forget what it's called. Some people in the chat will let you know. But it's basically about the potential restrictions Ten Hag will have in the summer on his transfer budget. Even if we had super rich owners, we wouldn't be able to spend super rich prices. So we will have to generate some funds, and to do that, we're going to have to let some players go. So the 4 players that are being touted as generating some money are Harry Maguire, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Donny van der Beek and Fred. I mean, that's going to be very changeable, isn't it? I mean, if Donny van der Beek is out for a year, we can't sell Donny van der Beek in the summer. If Fred's only got a year left on his contract, you're not going to get a super amount of money for him. Wan-Bissaka, if he stays at Old Trafford for the next few months as an understudy to Deleu and hardly plays, his value again is not going to be super big. And Maguire's 80 million price has its own complications because you'll be lucky to get half of that, and then that impacts on the financial fair play rules anyway. Mark, do you think new owners come in and externally or third-party companies of theirs sponsor United and clash out our 300 million transfer fees? Says Jake. Don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've got no idea, Jay. What I do know is it's going to be very hard to spend money in the summer if we're not in the Champions League, and it's going to be very expensive to rebuild Man United. I don't know the intricacies of a deal. My assumptions are that the new owners will come in and the debt will be gone, but I think it's highly unlikely that the Glazers will say, out of our 6 billion, we'll pay everybody's transfer fees back. I don't think that will happen. Mark, I read this morning that if United want a top striker, then they need to qualify for the Champions League. Even if we were bought out, the amount of debt built up by the Glazers is unreal. So Slow Sports News. And Slow Sports News, I love the fact that your super chat is in yellow, like my yellow tie. Slow Sports News there. 2 o'clock yesterday video. I'm telling you, it's well worth a watch. If you're waking up to that and you want clarity on that, we're not the UK Gold. We can't repeat. But there was a video yesterday called Sell to Buy. Ten Hag's transfer warning, restricted summer budget. Very good video. Everything you need to know is in that. So give it a watch, because that is true, what Slow Sports News is saying. I mean, he must be getting his internet by carrier pigeon, but we spoke about this yesterday. Very interesting. We actually had an article on the United Stand website in the summer about this very thing, that United face restricted budgets this summer, no matter what. And what I would refer you to as well is, remember Richard Arnold in the pub last June. What did he say? And look, he's at fault as much as anybody for what's gone on at the club. But what did Richard Arnold say in that pub last summer? He said, "We're all right this summer, but next summer we're in trouble." And people assumed that's because we've got no budget. I actually think that's because we've got no money, if I'm honest. Not because... No, that's wrong. I don't think it's because we've got no money. I think it's because of these new financial fair play rules that we've got coming in that are going to make it very difficult for Manchester United to spend. So yeah, I think that's going to be a problem for United. The fact that our fans want it knocked down is a disgrace. All our history in that stadium, not to mention the legends who have played on that pitch, says Jamie. Yeah, so the poll in the live chat is basically what would you do, renovate or rebuild Old Trafford? 54% of you would renovate and 46% would rebuild. You know what that is? I don't want to be demographically stereotypical, but I think that's a generational thing. I would imagine it. I can't deep dive and get it, but I would imagine there's a lot of younger fans who want to rebuild because they look at, my oldest daughter's like this. She's just has opinions that I just can't get my head around because she's quite ruthless. She would probably, if she was into football, she would probably say rebuild it and have something that's really modern and purpose built and going to last for the next 50 years. I think stereotypically the younger generation are quite ruthless with that. They're like, obviously the right thing to do is to build a new stadium that's absolutely top of the range, and that's what you do. Maybe stereotypically the older generation like myself, it's like, I don't want Man United out of Old Trafford. I still think Arsenal at Highbury was way better than the Emirates. I do. I just think, maybe there's nostalgia there. I'm very sad that Everton are going to leave Goodison Park. I wouldn't want Liverpool to leave Anfield. I wouldn't want Villa to leave Villa Park. So, it's funny. I was looking at something on Twitter the other day, and I'd never realised this. It's like 90s football Twitter account, so it's all nostalgia. And they had an aerial view of when the Leicester Stadium was built and Filbert Street, their old stadium, was still standing. And they're ridiculously close. Now, I'd been to Filbert Street years ago, their old stadium, and I've been to Leicester's ground quite a few times. In fact, I've played at it. But I'd never been there when they were both up, and I'd never realised how close they were together because their old ground has just been knocked down and things built all over it. So I think that's always sad, and to think that Old Trafford could just become office blocks or whatever is I just Busby Babes, Law, Charlton Best, the Sir Alex Ferguson years, Old Trafford is just, I almost think it should be a listed building. I think it should be protected. I do. I think it's a site of national interest and heritage. I don't think Old Trafford should be allowed to be knocked down, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Even if it was more, I would renovate. But with that debt for transfers to get more players and everything else, I think someone like Dubai is more likely, says Gamer Reaper. Well, yeah, there is nothing to report in relation to new owners at the moment. I don't know when that's going to hit. I think we'd all like to know when that's going to hit, but there's nothing to hit about that. Although there's something coming in here. Ministers in Saudi Arabia and Qatar have previously played down the prospect of a state-backed buyout of Manchester United. However, all other well-placed sources have warned against ruling out the two nations. So Saudi Arabia and Qatar, this is coming from the Telegraph again. We're all the Telegraph this morning. Three big updates here on the sale of Manchester United. So Manchester United's aim is still for a first quarter April sale. This is all coming in from James Ducker. I mean, he had a great article yesterday and he's got a good one here today. So listen up to this. Let's just get this out there. So let me just put this out. So let's start from the start here. Manchester United have received serious takeover interest from the Middle East, Asia and America, and are paused to invite formal bids from them by a mid-February deadline. I mean, what? Oh, God, I can't stand the bloody Glazers. I can't stand the Glazers. Mid-February. Are you having a bloody laugh? We are not selling the club in a month. Anybody with a brain knows you cannot sell a club in a month. What the bloody hell is going on? Mid-February deadline for bids. Mid-February, that's another month. I don't know whether people think we're playing Monopoly here, but you cannot have formal bids done by mid-February, that's another 2 weeks to assess them. You know what the March stuff is about? That's about this is who we're selling to. It doesn't mean we're selling. You can't sell a club in. This is bullshit. What we're being fed a load of shit, basically. My theory was always that everybody, from Fabrizio Romano to Samuel Luckhurst, was always saying Man United want a sale by March. And that theory was based that we'd have new owners in March. You cannot get new owners in March if you are only assessing bids in mid-February. And some twat in the chat just says you can actually. You cannot, mate. You cannot buy a football club in a month. And it'll be less than a month. If we're not taking bids until mid-February, you've then got to assess the bids. They might then go to final bids. We're not going to accept a bid until the back arse of February. And you think we're going to get new owners in March going, this is our transfer budget. This is going to rock on into the summer, this is. This, you know, I spoke to somebody about 2 months ago and they said, I don't know what United are putting out there saying that they're going to sell a club in 3 months because there's so much legal work that needs to be done even when you've accepted a bid. It's like, I think what we're heading for is in March, someone's going to buy the house. But if anyone's ever bought a house, you can have a bid accepted in June, but you won't move in until December. And this is the concern. We're clearly not going to accept a bid until the end of February. Well, they're not going to be moving in the middle of March because they're going to have to go through all the stuff you know you've got to go through, all the checks, all the legal paperwork, you know, due diligence, the lot. And the worrying thing about that is that's going to impact our summer. We saw it with Chelsea. The same thing happened with Chelsea. So, yeah, I mean, I worry about that. I mean, I hope I get proved wrong on that, but I worry about that. That anybody with a brain will be going, how the hell can you be having a deadline of mid-February for final bids and then expect to get new owners in March? Yeah, it's not, that looks very, very unlikely. I would say the minimum it's going to take, once a bid's been accepted, I would say the minimum it's going to take is about 4 months. But, you know, Leon says, Mark, they've already accepted a bid and obviously negotiate on the private. They know exactly who they're selling to. If it's not Dubai, it'll be a massive shock. Well, Leon, I agree with you on that. That was my theory all along because I think it takes about 4 months minimum to buy something. And therefore, I think that, you know, we must have an owner lined up, I suppose. But we'll see. We'll just see. Anyway, let's go back to the updates. So, Manchester United, this is from the Telegraph. Manchester United have received serious takeover interest from the Middle East, Asia and America and are paused to invite formal bids by the middle of February. So the Telegraph is saying that Man United won't even assess the bids for another month, which is another month wasted, of course. You've then got another update from the same outlet, and what they're saying is, Sir Jim Radcliffe is also continuing to monitor Man United, and while an offer from him is still expected, formal talks are yet to begin. Other candidates who expressed appetite to buy Chelsea last year are known to have also returned with approaches. So it doesn't look like we are short of people looking to come in and buy Manchester United. Ministers in Saudi Arabia and Qatar have previously played down the prospect of a state-backed buyout. However, other well-placed sources have warned against ruling out the two nations. The issue with Saudi Arabia Saudi Arabia is Newcastle, isn't it? So they own Newcastle. Qatar, do Qatar own anybody? Don't think Qatar do. Abu Dhabi. It's Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, and oh no, maybe Qatar's PSG, isn't it? Yeah, PSG. So yeah, I mean that's my observation about Saudi Arabia and Qatar is they already own Newcastle and Manchester and PSG. So I don't know how that works. Apple are out; they went out ages ago. So yes, I mean significant updates, and Manchester United aim is still for the first quarter April sale. Look, this is only my observation. This is all coming out as we're talking. Basically, in summary, it's coming from the Telegraph that Manchester United have got multiple interested parties in buying the club. United have said that they want bids by the middle of February, formal bids. Those bids could be coming in from Sir Jim Radcliffe, from America, from the Middle East. There's a lot of interest apparently. Mid-February is when they will take bids, and then they are still hopeful of a April-March sale. But I fear that this has been lost in translation, because I think what Man United have been putting out there, that they're hoping for a sale in March, is get your words out, Goldbridge, is genuinely just the first part of a sale. I think this is, I don't know whether anybody's been through this, but if your parents or you or anyone else has ever bought a house goes on the market, loads of people go and look at it, everyone puts a bid in, who wants to buy it? You then get a phone call from your estate agent saying they've accepted your bid. And as I said, that you've had a bid accepted, that's a sale, but the sale's not completed until you've done all of your checks, all the solicitor's stuff, due diligence, proof of funds, the lot. And it normally takes about 4 months to buy a house, from the point where you've had your bid accepted to the point that you own the house. I'm wondering now if this March sale thing that we've heard about is actually just having a bid accepted. I don't think that I just can't see how you can not know who's bought the club in mid-February and then by mid-March they're running the show. I can't see how it can be done that quickly. I can't. I might be completely wrong, but I just can't see that. And certainly every article we've read, every expert from the business world has said that, you know, it would be unusual to buy a football club in 3 months. I think Chelsea did it very, very quickly because it had to be done quickly because of, you know, obviously the Russia war and everything like that. But yeah, I think I hope I'm wrong, but I think this March sale thing is just the announcement of who's going to buy us. Then you've got to go through the handover period. So, but what I would say about that is, if you buy a house in March and you're not going to own it until July, doesn't mean you can't be talking to the owners saying, we want to get carpets in, we want to get somebody in to measure up for the windows, you know, want to get somebody in to do the drive. You could still say, look, go and buy this player in the summer, go and buy that player in the summer. I think. They may have a buyer in place and have already started the process, but waiting out for a last minute bid offering more happens in the property market, says Daz. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. How can you justify 6 billion with that amount of work, says Slow Sports News? Mate, there's a lot of interest in Manchester United. I think we can all acknowledge that. I don't think we need, I don't think we need the Telegraph or anyone else to come out and give us an update on the sale. I think we can all clearly see that there's a lot of interest in Manchester United. And I tell you what, I bet the Glazers are grinning from ear to ear. I bet they can't wait until all these formal bids come in, because the thing is, if you really want something and you've got the money, you might know it's not worth 6 billion. But if you know there's 6 or 7 other people going to bid, that's when stupid bids come in, because you're like, I will overpay to get it. A prime example, talking about houses again, a mate of mine a few years ago went and looked at this house and he really liked it, and he put an offer in. I mean, let's just say the house was on the market for 300 grand. I don't know what prices are around the world or where you live, but let's just say that it was on the market for 300 grand, yeah? And went and looked at it, really liked it, and basically wanted to get it. So, you know, spoke to the bank, spoke to the mortgage company, and decided that although it was way more than it was worth, offered 350 grand to get it. You know, way over the price. The price is 300 grand, offered 350 grand to get it. Got a phone call from the estate agent the next day saying, sorry, you've been unsuccessful. Now, they can't tell you what the winning bid was, because that would be confidentiality. But he was stunned. He was like, I've offered 50 grand over the price and it's not worth that because I really wanted to get it. Anyway, on Rightmove, about a year later, it'll put up the price it went for. It went for 410,000. So somebody had gone £110,000 over to get it. And that's what I mean about Man United. We know it's not worth 6 billion, but there might be a buyer there that just desperately wants to get it, and the Glazers will benefit. Of course they will. About Beghorst, that's not even a real name, says Imovan. Thank you very much for that. And one on the point of selling players to raise funds, do you see issues with players on loan like Tellez, Bay, Henderson, who have years on the contract, says the Beast? Well, I mean, look, players that we can sell, obviously Wan-Bissaka's been mentioned, Harry Maguire's been mentioned, Fred's been mentioned, and Donny's been mentioned. If they're all fit in the summer, yeah, of course, I'd move them on. I mean, we can raise a bit of money there, take the wages off the wage bill, get some money in. Good idea. All 4 of those players, you can understand why you'd move them on. Donny, it's not worked. Wan-Bissaka, it's clearly not going to work. He's not going to be the number 1 right back. Maguire, again, he needs to play first team football. He's not going to get that at United unless we take a big step down. Fred, 1 year left on his deal, 30. I like Fred, but, you want to improve in the midfield, so there's an opportunity there. Any news on Martial starting tomorrow, says Julian? Well, we'll get that in the press conference at lunchtime. But Eric Bailly needs to go, and Tellez needs to go, and that will take money off the wages, and you might be lucky and bring in 10 million there. Dean Henderson, again, is on 140 grand a week, so that helps with reducing the wages, and you probably get 20 million for him as well, so that's a good sale because he's from the youth, so you've not bought him, so you make the complete profit on him, because that's how the transfer is going to work now. If you sell a player, if I sell Harry Maguire for 40 million quid, the way that the financial fair play rules are going to work is that it's the profit you make that you can then spend on transfers. But because we spent 80 million on Maguire, if you sell him for 40, it's not classed as 40 million profit. They do it on years of your contracts and stuff like that. But with someone like Dean Henderson, we didn't buy him. He's from the youth setup, so it would be pure profit. Phil Jones will be gone in the summer. He's on about 100 grand a week, so that brings the wages down as well. Twan Sebi will be gone. So there are ways that we can raise money and reduce the wage bill in the summer, and we're going to have to do it. Good morning, Mark, says Lit Ewok. This is off topic. As I'm writing my senior speech, I just wanted to thank you for giving me positivity and hope through tough times in the last few years. You've given me a great gift. Thank you, pal, and thank you very much for your super chat. I appreciate that. Any Van der Beek update, says RJ. We are expecting to get that in the Erik ten Hag press conference a little bit later on today. Just want to double check about that, actually. Man United have a tendency to change the time of the press conference, and yeah, it's at 1:30 today, the press conference. So yeah, we'll be live at about 1:45. So we will get updates on Donny and Delo. And Martial is a question mark. I mean, I think he'll be fine, but I think hopefully. There was talk that he didn't train on Monday. I did find it odd that he wasn't in the matchday squad at all on Tuesday, because a lot of the first team players were. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think Varane wasn't on the bench. I might be right on that. But Phil Jones is still here on 80k a week. It's embarrassing. First job should be to get him gone. He's gone, Joe. His contract's he's up in the summer, so only an idiot would renew it. Tony, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. If Forest offered to buy Henderson now so he can play against us in the semi-final, would you go for it, says Glennie? I wouldn't have a problem with it. Clay, thank you very much for the super chat. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I don't think United will do it, though, because we're so indecisive, but I wouldn't have a problem with that. The questions on everyone's mind is, will you change your stance on top 4 if we beat City? Enough is enough, Mark. It's time to jump on the Champions League train. I can't believe how much crap I got for saying something I've been saying for months. There's a lot of toxic people in this fan base who try and pretend that we're toxic. It genuinely puts a smile on my face. There are just people who want to see the world burn, don't they? The amount of crap I've had over the last 2 days for 2 clips that have been taken completely out of context. One of them was the Rashford thing after a crap game last season where I said sell him to PSG, where I think 99% of the fan base agreed with that at the time. And now he's playing well, and now my opinion from 9 months ago is relevant now. And then the other one is the insistence that I don't think we're going to get top four, which is causing a lot of people a lot of frustration. But the reason I don't think we're going to get top four is because I don't think we can play the way we have been playing for the next 5 months, 3 times a week. It's just basic maths for me, or whatever you want to call it, or fitness levels, or fatigue, or I just don't see this team being able to sustain the brilliant form they're in, playing 3 games a week for the next 5 months. And if you look at the last couple of weeks, Delo's got injured, Donny's got injured, and Martial might be injured. So we're going to keep picking up injuries, and you lose Rashford or Casemiro, we're in big trouble. So, but there will become a point where hopefully I will say I think we're going to get top 4, Charlie. I want to be here for that day as much as you. If we beat Man City tomorrow, I don't think I'll be saying we're going to get top 4, because I still think that would be hypocritical. The reason I don't think we're going to get top 4 has got nothing to do with whether as not being good enough. I think we're good enough, but the hate you receive for your opinions is shocking, says MT90. Yeah, but in fairness to those people, they just expose themselves as hateful people. They probably look in the mirror and they cry. I don't mind people having a problem with my opinions, and you shouldn't have a problem with people having problem with your opinions, because if you put an opinion out there, not everyone's going to agree with it. But going back to what I was talking about, Arsenal are about to spend over 60 million in the January transfer window on Mudryk. They may well be a rival, but I can only applaud that approach from that football club, because what Arsenal have basically done is they've gone, oh my God, we're top of the league. This team and this manager are exceeding expectation, and Man City look wobbly. Do we want to sit in the summer with regrets saying we should have spent in January and back to the manager? Well, no, they don't. Arsenal are doing exactly what any club should be doing in the January transfer window. Newcastle should do it with Eddie Howe. Man United should be doing it with Ten Hag. They're in really good positions. They're exceeding expectation. Go and back them now. Because if you don't back them now and it goes wrong, it's on you. And Arsenal owners, it's on you. If you don't go and get a Mudryk and you don't go and back Arteta, you'll never know what could have been. So they're doing exactly the right thing. This nonsense that United keep putting out there about the January transfer window not being part of their strategy. If the January transfer window is not part of your strategy, you're not a football club. You're a business. If you're not using a transfer window as part of your strategy, and we haven't in 3 of the last 4, we've just ignored it, and other people use it well, like Spurs did last year, like other clubs are this year, that is my concern about any top 4 chance we've got, because we're sitting on our arse at a time where, I said it yesterday, if you could give me Weghorst, Rabiot and Isco on loan in January, I think we'd get top 4. I just think we're 2 or 3 rotational players away from being able to do it, because 3 games a week for 5 months, it's so hard to do. So even if we beat Man City tomorrow, Charlie, I don't think I'll say we're going to get top 4, because that's not my problem. I think we're capable of beating Man City tomorrow, and I've predicted we will. It's just how lucky we're going to be with all these games. Mark, what if we did to Arsenal what Liverpool did to us and we go grab Mudryk? That would be great change of pace for once, says Lit. Yeah, we've got no money. If we get knocked out of the Europa League and the FA Cup, this will increase our chances of top 4, says Oleg. Yeah, I agree. But I don't think that whilst that might happen, that's not part of the plan. Erik Ten Hag is not doing what maybe Liverpool did in the Carabao Cup, where it was like, we're not really bothered if we go out. United and Ten Hag are trying in every game to win the game. And as I said last night, some people, that might end up being quite naive from Ten Hag in his first year. But I think as fans, we love it. The fact that he is trying to win everything. He will learn a lot this season, and he'll learn a lot over the next few months about the club, about the league, and about the demands. And I hope he comes through it. Weghorst had a good spell at Wolfsburg, makes me quite optimistic, says Espan. I think with Weghorst, we've just got to all hope it works. He's not the signing that Ten Hag wanted. I know that João Felix got sent off last night, and again, I was doing a watch along for the Chelsea game last night, and I was saying how good João Felix looked. He looked like the best player on the pitch until he got sent off, and I just looked at it and I was like, well, there's a player that you could rest Bruno for. There's a player you could rest Martial for. There's a player you could rest Rashford for. There's a player that maybe could bench Bruno if he did really well, and he's at Chelsea. And I think he would have fitted us like a glove. But he gets sent off and people go, ha, 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 you look all right, Pratt, now. You wanted Felix. And I'm like, player who is best player on the pitch gets sent off for a silly tackle. I'd still want him. Like, that's... I saw Eric Cantona kick a fan. I still wanted him to stay at Man United. I mean, a reckless tackle, a justified red card, doesn't make him not a good player. And he's never played in the Premier League, and he was the best player on the pitch last night for an hour. So, and he can play in a number of positions. I mean, it's not worked well for Chelsea. He can't play for them for a month now because he's suspended. But yeah, a player like that would have been great. I still think Gakpo would have been great. But we go with what we've got, and the club didn't put any money up. So Ten Hag's had to go bargain basement with Weghorst, and I think we all have to hope that it works. It's not the best we could do. I guarantee we'll be sat here at the end of January looking at all our rivals and going, they've had a much better transfer window than us. They're serious about their manager and they're serious about achieving things. But that doesn't mean that Ten Hag won't achieve things. You know, he could be a manager that can do it on a shoestring. Let's hope he is. I'm a contract lawyer, says Clay, and I've dealt with contracts worth 700 million. 1 month is impossible to buy a club. Thank you, Clay. Thank you for the specialism there. I don't think some people in the chat realise it. If we're not accepting bids for Manchester United till the end of February, we're not having new owners before... New owners in control before, I would say, May. They'll be announced in March, but they won't be in control till May because it will take ages for us to go through the process. I just hope that once the bid's been accepted, they have the power to say to the Glazers, go and do this, go and do that. But you don't know. I saw out of context clips a few years ago and thought you were a bit of a prat. Fast forward a few years and I now watch regularly and agree with 90% of what you say. Keep up the good work, says Andy F. Oh, the trouble with clips is anything can be taken out of context. You do know that people think my clip of Wout Weghorst is in the last couple of weeks. That clip of me playing FIFA, some people think I hate Weghorst because I went, who's Weghorst? He's Harry Potter's mate. 4 years old that clip is. And I didn't know who he was at that point. And the reason he was wearing a Burnley shirt is because, weirdly, I was playing FIFA 4 years ago and Burnley bought Weghorst. And then they ended up buying him in real life. The January window can also be used to get players clubs still want in the summer, but gives the players 6 months to settle in. Vidic and Everett. Glennie, I'm not the director of football at Man United. I'm not the CEO. I'm not the head of recruitment. I think what we put out there publicly is baffling about the January transfer window. We've actually had direct quotes coming out from the director of football of Man United that our strategy is always to look at the summer transfer window. I mean, that's the director of football basically saying we ignore the January transfer window. I find that baffling. I mean, that just needs to change. Like, any football club that is ignoring an opportunity to rectify mistakes or strengthen isn't a football club. But we keep saying it like we're right. Oh, the January transfer window, we don't worry about that. Absolutely ridiculous. But hopefully that will change. What's your predicted lineup for the derby? Says Texas. Watch the preview. It's the last video we did. I have seen Casemiro's tweets. Yes, I have seen Casemiro's tweets. Samuel wants us to acknowledge him. Could be Samuel Luckhurst. Can you believe it? Weghorst now playing for United. Has it been officially announced yet? I suspect we will officially announce that at some point, by the way. But I don't think it's been officially announced yet. No, I haven't. I'm surprised they haven't announced it yet. Maybe they'll do it at midday, bang on. Maybe they'll do it at 11 o'clock. I've just seen about Weghorst from Carrick Fan. I haven't seen anything from Carrick Fan in years. It's good to see he's alive and doing well. Great. Loving that. There was a story I wanted to bring in. Make sure you smash the like on the video and subscribe, by the way. Weghorst has to be registered with the Premier League by midday. That doesn't mean Man United need to announce it before then. We could register him with the Premier League and not announce him publicly. Maybe Man United will announce it tonight. Maybe they'll do it at 11 o'clock. Maybe they won't do it. Maybe they'll do it at midday. But he will be registered. Fabrizio has hinted that he's already been registered. So he will be registered because that's it. It's not a car alarm, Philip. It's actually hoovering, which is a little bit annoying when I'm doing a morning show, especially when it's coming from my own residence. But don't worry. She's sacked. Might be my mother, but she's sacked. Comes round and does the cleaning and ruins the show. Any updates on Sancho, Mark? Nothing at the moment. Nothing heard from that at the moment. And one update I did want to bring you, which is a little bit old, but there's a little bit more to bring. Anthony. I'm not going to dwell on this because I mentioned it at the start, but Rob Dawson's a good journalist. He's basically saying that Manchester United have admitted that they overspent on Anthony, but they've bought a player that they hope will be worth that in the future. So we spent 30 million more than he was worth in the hope that he will be that in the future. It's not Anthony's fault. I like Anthony. I think he will be a good player, but you can't shirk or ignore the fact that Man United could have bought Anthony in June for a lot cheaper than they bought him for in August. And the article says, and you know, it was pretty well known at the time as well, because I remember it. United were quoted a price of 60 million euros for Anthony in June and walked away saying it was too much. So in the middle of June, United were offered Anthony for 60 million euros and they walked away, only to come back and pay 95 million euros in August. And it is a 95 million deal because it's got add-ons on it. So that's I mean, for me, this is the sort of thing that if you're the new owner, you take a note of that and you sack the people involved as soon as you come in, because we are going to face restricted budgets in the summer. And if you are not intelligent enough to realise that that 30 million that we overspent on Anthony could have been used in January on Gakpo or João Felix, and also could have been used on the summer to give us more to spend next summer. So those sort of stupid mistakes, it's not just laugh at Man United because they've spent 90 million on Anthony. It's also that money could have been kept back and used for other things. You know, we all know this world of budgets and revenue compared to that and all that. And if you're overspending on wages and transfers, you're knackering up the future as well. You know, it's ridiculous to be offered a player for £53 million in June, say no and walk away because it's too much, and then go back 2 months later and pay, 25 million more than that. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Mark, I would rather have you as the club owner, says Adam. I'd rather have you, Adam. Welcome to the Members Club, Victor. But you know what? Let's not turn this into Harry Maguire, because Harry Maguire was never worth £80 million and Anthony's not worth 85 million. But that doesn't mean that those players can't be good players for us. I like Anthony. I think he's a good player. And I think I do the watch-alongs, and I'm sure it'll happen tomorrow if Anthony starts. You'll get people saying, oh, he's so one-footed. He's so left-footed. Like, that's a surprise. Anthony has been playing for Ten Hag for the last couple of years. Ten Hag at no point said to United, don't go and buy Anthony because he's one-footed. He knows he's one-footed. So I think that this conversation about him being, it's a weakness that he's one-footed. Our manager, that everyone cannot stop praising, knows Anthony more than any of us and knows that he's got no right foot and still wanted to spend big money on him to bring him to Manchester United. That'll do for me. That'll do for me. And as I've said before, I've seen Robben very, very, very left-footed, and he was one of the best wingers in the world when he was playing. So it's not a problem being one-footed. Ten Hag knows about it in depth, and we've seen other players who are one-footed be world-class. So I think that debate needs to stop, if I'm being honest, because I don't really feel it's a reason to attack him. The price tag isn't his fault. I've said it, you've said it, I've seen people say it on TV as well, and they're right. If we had paid £53 million for Anthony in June, a lot of the pressure he's under wouldn't be going on. It wouldn't. He's one of the most expensive players in Premier League history because Man United fucked up. And that's put a lot of pressure on him. And again, that's not his fault. So I think a lot of the criticism of Anthony is unfair. And actually, his goal to game return in a very short period of time is pretty good. And he is a developmental player as well. Anthony 5 goals, Nunez 8 goals, same price. One is a striker, one is a right winger. I like Nunez as well, Imad. So I get your point, but I think Nunez is a good signing. I'd love him at United. Texas, welcome to the members club. I know Nunez plays for Liverpool, and that's Liverpool fans. They own him. It's their player. But I think if Nunez had come to Manchester United, he would have been really well liked. I know he's raw, but I think he's got the right character, the right application. I think he would be well liked. So a very interesting morning show this morning. We've got I'm just double checking here. We've got Erik ten Hag's press conference at 1:30. We're awaiting Wout Weghorst's arrival, official arrival at Manchester United, and I'm sure that will be announced very, very soon. An interesting morning, and also we've had these updates coming in from James Ducker in the Telegraph talking about what's going on with the bidding process, which I think could be a major feature on the 8 o'clock show tonight. But I will repeat this in case anyone's tuned in late. The Telegraph are saying that Manchester United want bids in by the middle of February. That's a month away. And they're still looking for a sale in March or April. I think we need to accept now, based on the information that's come out this morning, we're not going to have new owners in March and April that own the club. What we're going to have in March and April is an announcement of who the next owner is going to be. And I liken this to when you buy a house. You have your bid accepted, but it takes months until you're living there. And I think this is where people have got misinformed, and we've been misinformed as fans. I think we thought the new owners were going to be in place at the club in March. That's not happening. The only way that was going to happen is if United had a bid accepted in November that they've kept quiet and they've been working on. There's due diligence, there's legal checks, there's loads of stuff. You've got to go through the Premier League as well. If we accept a bid in late February, which is the earliest it's going to happen if the close off is the middle of February, it's the middle of February, I think they're going to announce who the new owners are in March. And then it's going to take 3-4 months until they're actually in control, because you're going to have to go through all sorts of regulations. The Premier League have got to sign it off. So I'm a bit disappointed by that, because I actually thought we were going to be in a position where the new owners were in place in March, and it's clearly not. We're just going to announce who the owners are, but they won't own the club officially for probably 3 or 4 months after that, which could have big ramifications on the summer transfer window. We'll have to wait and see. Mark, hypothetically, if United offered you a position in the board, but with the condition of not ever doing United stand again, would you do it? Opria, if it was a position of power, I would do it. Yeah. Of course I would, because I think that Manchester United being run like a football club properly is more important than anything, isn't it? I think that's all we want. Texas Eddie, welcome to the Members Club. Can I just remind you as well, thank you if you are a member. Texas Eddie is a new member. You can click the join button to do that. You get your badge next to your name, which changes each month, but you also get weekly exclusive new content as well. The video we uploaded yesterday is fantastic. It's only 10 minutes long. It's a deep dive stats into Weghorst, comparing him to Haaland, Ronaldo, Martial and Ivan Toney over the last calendar year. So we're looking at pass completion, forward passes, defensive duels, aerial duels, shot conversion, defensive work, pressures, the lot. So check it out if you're a member. We do quite a lot of those videos, as well as quizzes and other stuff as well. So check it out if you're a member. Thanks for supporting the channel. We are back just after 1:30 with the press conference for Ten Hag. We could well be back quickly for a Weghorst announcement. That's imminent at any point. And obviously we've got the 8 o'clock show tonight. Take care, everyone. They can't keep saying they only do business in the summer, then taking till August to sign players, because we're going to be starting off every season badly, says Glenny Boy. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. I'll speak to you all in a bit.